Welcome to BCU STEAM podcasts, where we explore how teaching and learning across our university are shaped by the principles of STEAM, that's science, technology, engineering, the arts and mathematics, and how they align with our BCU 2030 vision as a teaching first institution. Today I'm joined by Begum and Nazli, who are here to describe, promote, celebrate SCAMPER. Thank you both for coming. Can you tell us a little bit more about SCAMPER?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tom, for raising this. So it's Begum. And so I'm from the Department of Management, Business and Marketing. So SCAMPER is a creative tool. It's among the one of the most influential brainstorming tool that we have been using. So in different contexts, it's actually stands for substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to other use, eliminate, and reverse. So this is just prompting creative thinking and providing a scenario to the participants in whichever context, and then so give them and just let them to think creatively, to just move beyond their thinking, and then create new things, new designs, and come up with new ideas. That's why so I have been using as a lecturer in many different contexts of SCAMPER.
Fantastic. I know that you both took it to London recently to trial it out, or was it to give it its first run, or why don't you tell me about the trip to London?
It was actually as the first I think the one that we applied in different setting. We were together with women entrepreneurs, and we gave them a scenario, because SCAMPER mainly work with a scenario. And then we gave an input. In that case, our input was Turkish coffee, because we're original from Turkey. And we gave them that scenario that they need to develop a new products applying the 7 principles of SCAMPER. So, and then they had a limited time. Actually, it was 10 minutes to develop this 7 products, and then so they need to describe and present those products, and then we pick the one, and then we celebrate it together.
Wicked.
Yeah.
And is it following the SCAMPER method? So following it through SCA, for example.
Exactly. But they were required to just develop different product ideas. And while developing, we observe their group dynamics, we observe their discussions, we observe their excitement, their involvement in that activity, and then so it was such a fun, very joyful activity for us.
Fantastic.
And then just we really engage with different kind of women.
Yeah, that it sounds wonderful to be able to go and afford learning and learn, I suppose, the opportunity to be critical, but in a safe manner, to be creative, equally at a point where they are able to go and follow a guidance as such, therefore giving them confidence to go and think creatively, freely, is something that we can definitely bring into BCU and trial with our learners. So people listening to go and find out what SCAMPER is, they can reach out hopefully to you guys, and therefore be able to go and see how that works within their learning environment. You've said that everyone has creative potential. It's all about unlocking it with the right tools and the mindset. So what kinds of barriers to creativity do you most often see, and how does SCAMPER help overcome them?
I mean, in my teaching at least, but this time I'm getting out at SCAMPER, but just focusing on my own teaching.
Of course.
I'm a lecturer in the Department of Psychology and Counseling. So our teaching actually involves a lot of this creative thinking application that's related to the actual job employment context. But the deal is, we usually see, at least in this generation of students, maybe a smaller inclination to think outside the box. They're kind of waiting for us to give them the input, but when they get graduated and go out in the real life, they're not going to be able to apply those concepts.
Of course.
Or they will need to spend a longer time learning how to apply those concepts. So embedding this into the learning, both creativity and critical thinking is really important. SCAMPER, actually, it was actually my first time also experiencing SCAMPER. Like, Begum is the experienced person in this. So I was just assisting her in her application to women.
But you were amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. But I think we both used what we do at BCU a lot when we were applying SCAMPER to women. Like, we grouped them as we do in seminars. We gave them a task, and we basically visited them to scaffold them during the task and prompt them to further thinking and further explanation, maybe, in there. So in SCAMPER, that is embedded, and I think it was at least my discovery that what we do with teaching actually applies to everyone, even if this is a group of women from different educational backgrounds who are actually immigrants and entrepreneurs trying to survive in the UK as immigrants. Well, I'm repeating myself, but anyways. So it could be applied to them, and it could widen their horizons because, I mean, we're Turkish, yes, as she said, and the women in the room were luckily all Turkish as well. And we had also an interesting twist of events. We had a Turkish coffee sponsor in the event, so they could actually drink it, but we usually drink Turkish coffee and chat. We don't use it beyond our original, like, use of drinking it.
At least generating ideas. We're not using Turkish coffee to generate an idea.
Must be quite lovely having the Turkish coffee, which is usually associated with sitting down and having a conversation.
Exactly.
So already the ladies that were there were already in a frame of mind where we're going to be communicating, and because that's natural, we have the coffee on our tables in front of us. But then to put that conversation to use, to design something, which must have been fantastic. What were the outcomes? Where did the group of entrepreneurs take their conversations to?
So the outcome during these group discussions, so that sponsor, Turkish coffee sponsor, just was taking the pictures and taking videos, because there are amazing marketing ideas as well. Instead, just not only product ideas, but also the marketing ideas, because we were discussing changing the understanding of Turkish coffee there with the help of SCAMPER, and they realize that they can do this for their products as well, because they're all women entrepreneurs, and then they have different kind of products and services, and then they realize that, so they discovered themselves. At the same time, we discover our skills, our abilities to manage the different group of people, and being an outside of the classroom. That's the, I think, the richness in that experience.
Right? And the sponsor was taking notes, and by the way,
exactly
on SCAMPER.
The products that we developed together.
By the use of SCAMPER.
Yes.
Because the women got really creative, and the sponsor was taking notes, but also I just remembered at some point, because these are different groups presenting. So when one of the groups was presenting their ideas, I think from the other table, like way at the end, I don't know if you remember this, the lady was shouting like, "That idea, I'm down if someone wants to do it."
How cool is that?
And
so again, look, one of the big things, we spoke briefly before about the ways in which how can SCAMPER look to develop this cross-discipline, this cross-school or cross-department discipline, and already in the room it's bringing together people who are sharing ideas that may well have already been, created over in a different, separate part of the room. How do you perceive it? You're both from different. You're from business, aren't you, Begum? And Nazli, you're from psychology, you've already mentioned. And you're partnering on this. Is there a way in which psychology and business can be partnered together at BCU, with you two leading that charge using SCAMPER? And how? So how might that happen? What would you have to necessarily go through? So I think for the idea of people who are listening, who have a great idea but are working in a department, and they're either shelving it, they're not having the courage to go and stand up like that lady did at the back of the room, going, "I'm down if anyone else is." What could they possibly do? How could they help themselves? What would you do?
Well, actually, again, I'm going to say we're lucky because we share a similar cultural background. So we also share the same language. So that was easy for us to meet. But actually, the place we met was the PG Cert course that we were both going to. So I think it's important for cross-departmental talks to increase, like start and increase. I know there are some cross-departmental talks, but it's just not that much. We don't know what each other are doing. So maybe if we know more about each other and if we learn a bit more about the techniques we use, we can also go into like maybe, what was that called? Good examples, like, you know how they have, I don't know the word for this, maybe you do know, good examples conferences, or like,
well, almost like sharing
successes.
sharing successes,
of course.
sharing what works, but also meeting colleagues, just having a chance to talk about what we do, because it might not be easy for me to use SCAMPER directly in my teaching, because I am more developmental psychology focused. So my students may not be able to like generate many responses to one problem, but we kind of do that. But we can also try to translate that creativity element to something else within our course. We are,
Well, no, how I see it in terms of that cross-discipline aspect, where you've got a case study where there has to be a psychological component to it, and your learners are one learner amongst a business learner and a law learner and somebody else and somebody else and somebody else, and they make up a party, and therefore they are able to go share their knowledge in that as an expert, developing that communication, developing their the collaborative skill sets that they would need to go and take into employability, which is where the conversation started, right? We're looking at the ways in which we can improve that employability. So having those cross-discipline, utilising SCAMPER as a method to go and give them support.
This SCAMPER is quite interesting method. It's just because brainstorming tool that we can apply different contexts. And then also it's closely related with critical thinking. And then your stretch, and just it shows you to be flexible. It shows you that there are multiple different perspectives, and that's why I think it's also by its very nature it also encourages cross disciplinary collaboration. And it shouldn't be necessarily a product. It should be anything that we can develop as scenarios. We can apply SCAMPER. And even with the methods, we can develop anything, charities together with the help of SCAMPER. It just gives a start to think differently. This is I think the essence of the technique. Think differently.
I think it is and can be a tool that is used really widely in the business incubator that the STEAMhouse has, where these startup businesses are coming in to utilise the services, where they might be able to receive guidance from departments across the university, where even into module design and course design, where staff come together to use SCAMPER to really put that mindset, the design thinking mindset towards avenues of modules to be put together, and the way in which curriculum design can be orchestrated at the same time. You've both mentioned, I think there's only one that you haven't, which is wonderful because it hasn't been designed that way. The 6 C's that make it the STEAM attributes in knowing, doing and being. In knowing, you have critical thinking and creativity, which you both ventured into. You've got doing, which is collaboration and communication, and being, which is citizenship and change readiness. I'm going to ask you some questions on citizenship and change readiness because we haven't talked about that yet. How do you support, via the use of SCAMPER, but as well as in your courses as well, how do you support students to be adaptable, ethical and employable graduates?
So with SCAMPER technique, so there are many wicked problems that we have. And for those wicked problems, so they can apply and they can attempt to solve that wicked problems. I know that it seems maybe just over-ambitious to say that, okay, solving wicked problems, that everybody in the world just trying to solve. It's not actually. We were just starting with small steps. It is the entrepreneurship modules that we're telling our students, start with small steps, think bigger, and just gradually improve.
Now, I'm a huge lover of wicked problems, but there may well be people who are listening that don't know what a wicked problem is. So can you give me an example of what you used?
So these are the challenges that the world is facing, but it also impacts on not very limited communities and the people. Also, it has a various impacts, just diverse impacts, and the solutions and impacts. So it's just
they vary.
They're very, and then many problems. And
it's part of the guidance package that we're trying to create off of the backing of these podcasts and working with the experts in STEAM and experts in SCAMPER. We are trying to look at classroom techniques that we can use, and wicked problems do come into there, primarily because there is no one answer to a wicked problem.
Exactly.
And so therefore, for students to be creative, it gives them the license to. If Nazli gives an answer which is then different to yours and different to mine,
different perspectives,
we don't argue about it. We can debate it. And therefore, we have the ability to go and say, how does yours work differently to mine? And I think that brings upon a natural inclination for critical thinking, not a forced method of critical thinking.
Yeah, I mean, also everything doesn't fit every situation.
Of course,
Every situation, like I'm thinking of real life now, every situation requires different solutions. Different solutions are more optimal in those situations, and also the capacity of the person, their capabilities, their skill sets, also basically affect what kind of solutions you can find to a problem. So I think SCAMPER is, in that sense, a really useful technique, because it then basically gives you a few tools of thinking. I don't know if you would be happy to maybe go into like one or two examples of those letters in there. Maybe. Because I think it will like get it into more context. But my take-home point before you go into that is there are really different ways of tackling a problem. There are different ways of solutions, and SCAMPER is kind of offering like maybe a 7-step simple guideline to like how you can do that.
Yeah, that's why it's not generating a product ideas, it's also generating solutions to any problems in different contexts. For example, it's just the first letter substitute. So these days, we have many options because of the allergies or because of any health concerns of the other people. And instead of sugar, what we're using? So I'm just asking you what we're using instead of sugar. What are the ingredients that you're using while drinking your tea, coffee, or...
I'm that guy that doesn't put any sugar in his tea or coffee, unfortunately.
Oh, then
honey, though, I would love to put in. Yes.
I'd say honey, stevia.
And the date maybe? Date maybe?
Exactly.
Yeah. So with the scenarios that the people discover the different alternatives, as I gave you as sugar. What are the alternatives of sugar? So we can apply this to the wicked problem example, and then what are the problems, but what are the possible solutions? You know, we don't have any one solution as you mentioned. We will have many solutions, many alternatives, but because of our cognitive ability, now we can only see what we can see. That's why we can propose what we can see. That's the thing that SCAMPER helped people to develop those skills, and I think it's very closely related with employability and
an understanding of cultural aspects of it. as well, which is something that only just came to my mind in regards to dates. I would never have ever thought about putting a date in my tea or coffee, and I know that I have many dates in the cupboard when I go home. I'm going to give it a go. But it just brings upon that naturally, again, that really investigative aspect of you as well, that you can then go and take something from a comment and go and run with it at the same time.
And also creativity here, we're not defining creativity. We are indirectly telling the people to be creative. That's why we're not deductive. We are constructing that reality together with any participants. I think this is our approach, pedagogic approach, but also can be applied in different, in business life, in your context as well.
So in that, you're almost going with the student's flow. You're following what they are offering and therefore promoting them to be creative, and you reacting to that to maybe go and prompt and to develop it onwards that little bit more.
So I'm not starting just saying being creative with I'm just introducing these tools and let the students to discover themselves and their skills.
Yeah.
And so we're not, for example, talking about the creative theories or any other theories, but they learn the theoretical assumptions through applying these methods.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued. Just I'd like to venture back to a previous podcast with Robin, who made a comment about teaching in the shadows, almost setting off a task and not remaining in front of the students, but going around and then appearing and saying hello and seeing how people are getting on. With Scamper, how did you find your positionality within the room that you were delivering?
So we are facilitators.
Yes.
Because I believe our role changed. And as teachers, so we are now facilitators. We're not teaching anything because the people can find, that information within a second. But we're facilitators. So with facilitating function, this also help to manage the SCAMPER, but at the same time to apply it in the classroom. So we're facilitating discussions, but we're not telling what they have to do. We are just observing. If necessary, we're intervening, and with small interventions, we can see and observe and just go back again. But the floor is exactly for the participants.
Yeah, and I think what that does to learners' confidence is
develop.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
absolutely. Wonderful. How might educators or students within a STEAM context, the knowing, doing and being, use SCAMPER to enhance learning, problem solving, or even in curriculum design?
So
it's a difficult question, that.
Yeah, it's difficult. So
it has a lot of answers, actually.
Yeah,
like you can. Yeah,
sorry. You can. Yeah, you can.
I was just gonna say.
It's my wicked problem.
Yeah.
How about that?
So, depending on the context, again, in education, I think we are already doing this.
Yes.
At least I can speak on behalf of my department. We always have that critical thinking element in the assessment and that application element in the assessment, which basically, first of all, gives students some information about, at least in the modules I have currently, some therapy or intervention techniques. But then given the nature of the case, the students have to decide like what intervention technique they would use there and why. And we don't have a set answer. You can literally go with any kind of intervention, depending on how you justify it based on the case, how you justify it based on your capabilities, and so on and so forth. So I think in teaching, we actually do this really nicely. I'm really proud of BCU in that sense. Because we have lectures, but yes, we also do have seminars where we do a lot of this. So the students are really change ready. In the context of that specific SCAMPER workshop, I think we asked women entrepreneurs to think outside the box of a product that they know actually quite well and have associated with something else to think more creatively. So I am expecting these women to then go back to their houses and think of their own product in terms of the SCAMPER techniques. So it just gives you a tool of thinking that, as you said, you can apply everywhere. Like if something is not working, I can just think of a SCAMPER principle. I think one was, and I think that it was actually a really good example. I just want to repeat it here. You were saying, but you just have to tell me which letter it stands for. The Wi-Fi is actually eliminating the need for cables. So it's a creative thinking in a sense, because people before us... It's eliminate, yeah. People before us wouldn't think of a world without cables. But with Wi-Fi, now we're connecting to internet without using any cables. So if someone didn't think creatively about this, about like how to solve the problem of elimination of all these like chunky cables, we wouldn't have come up with Wi-Fi. So I think lecturers, like students, or people from the public, whoever listens to this, can just use actually SCAMPER principles to apply to their thinking of any kind of problem, really, everyday problems as well. Like, I don't know, my plant is wilting. What should I do? What can I do? What if watering it doesn't work? What if putting it to the sun doesn't work? That means I have to think of something else. or maybe solving another thing in your own personal life. You can even apply this to relationships to an extent. Eliminate people.
I would go.
Eliminate people.
Didn't think we were going in that direction there, Nazli. My mind came to the conversation I have with most teachers within the education development role is I'm struggling to engage my learners. And so, eliminate something. What can we do differently? What can we take away that is maybe standing in the way of you engaging your learners in an effective way? So the use of SCAMPER and different. Well, do you only ever use it as a whole, or is one part? Can you take it?
So there are different methods inside.
Yeah.
So you can apply just with one product. Just apply each step, 7 steps, and or you can dig into, for example, the first principle. It depends. It depends on the scenario that you generate, you create.
Yeah. In the way in which we've used design thinking strategies in the past, there is one that you often start with, which is how I've used it before, is the assumption dump. You get everyone's thoughts and processes out, and then you start to categorize, and then you look at the why tree where you're asking those 5 whys, and you start to build upon a deeper level of understanding of what you need to go and do.
It's quite reflexive.
100%,
It's quite reflective because
like
what if, how, why? You're asking these questions as a prompt to develop the discussions, to improve that thinking. And also the thing is, this technique connects creativity with real world. I think that's the main idea.
And in a STEAM-based podcast and conversation, connecting your learning to the real world is a key application or key tool for our learners' context in terms of developing their knowledge. How else? Where else might we be able to go and connect it to the real world, where staff could then take it and use it to their advantage?
So you're asking from the student's perspective, or just generally? So the real world, because of the scenarios that we're giving, I think so. So I'm basically using most of the time, and since my starting my academic career, gamification technique, and I incorporate SCAMPER in that technique, and we're playing together, and so that's why. So with that games, I incorporated specific real world scenarios.
Nice.
In our case, in that workshop, it was just they're supposed to develop a new project because of this stiff competition in the market, and they need to differentiate the Turkish coffee beans, and then they need to apply in different contexts. So this is how we connect with the real world. And but through the gamification, role playing, where we're incorporating SCAMPER as well, and then with the scenarios, we create a connection, real connection with the world.
But they're also that connection with each other, the students and and their sort of
peer
also
learning.
With you. What we found in regards to all the people that have been on the podcast is that the way in which they make the education fun and enjoyable, where there is a removal or at least a reduction of that fear of failure, so where students can feel comfortable in the uncomfortable, and so therefore if you're doing simulations and role play, that to other teachers across the globe is going to make them go, I don't like the sound of that at all. But you're doing it willingly and adding a method such as SCAMPER into it at the same time to only empower and strengthen what they're doing at the same time. So it's one wonderful thing to go and hear about playfulness in pedagogy, which is something that I therefore hold very dear. Last 2 questions.
No? Okay.
How do you think SCAMPER could be used to generate cross-school or cross-department collaboration? I know we ventured into this earlier on, but if we can go back to it, because that cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary aspect of STEAM is something that I feel, if promoted the right way and if conducted in the right way, is going to potentially revolutionise the way in which education is conducted. So I'll repeat the question. How do you think SCAMPER could be used to generate cross-school or cross-department collaboration at BCU, helping staff and students work creatively beyond their own discipline?
So my suggestion would be to invite, for example, I'm just, my field is entrepreneurship and innovation. So I would invite another teacher from another discipline to give the instructions of SCAMPER, and then maybe invite that teacher to as a guest lecturer, and to give a chance to manage that classroom with that instructions. And this will also help that teacher from a different discipline to get to know the new methods, but at the same time my students also will learn from a different perspective. This would be one idea to maybe enhance the this cross-disciplinary collaboration. And also I think I just now only think about the guest lecturing and using the instructions, applying these techniques in different settings. It might be very difficult in the beginning, but then it might be a good idea to engage with different learners. I think we should know of the different learners, different backgrounds. We should be flexible and adaptive, and this is what SCAMPER teach us. Being adaptive, being flexible. This is what we teach our students, but at the same time, this is the thing that we have to learn, I guess.
It eliminates certain things.
Yes. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And but we discovered this with just a small interdisciplinary project BCU funded. And then as a result of this project, we decided to do this kind of workshops together. Before that, we didn't know each other, even if we're coming from a different, same country, and we know each other. But this is the first time we come together to use a different technique, and we're both from different disciplines, I think.
Yeah, it's a wonderful link of minds as well to go into lead to something which is really, really useful. We mentioned that you met on the PG Cert. You may well have met beforehand, but this relationship formed with the PG Cert. And I suppose there's ongoing PG Certs. You're coming to the completion of yours, aren't you, at the moment? And there's PG Certs that are beginning now. There is also something called the BCU Summer Series and the BCU Winter Series that's being produced by EDS. We would love to host you on that, to go and give more conversations on SCAMPER, but also a case that there are PG Cert students and PG Cert applicants that may be looking at action research now that they could potentially come on to the Winter Series to advertise and promote what they're doing, in order for other members of staff to reach out to potentially start their own SCAMPER, which I think would be a fantastic idea. So thank you for giving me that idea. That's wonderful.
You're most welcome.
You described SCAMPER, and I looked on Begum. I looked on your LinkedIn, which is how this conversation started. You described SCAMPER as a way to challenge limits. What's next for your work at BCU, and how do you hope this approach continues to influence creativity and innovation across the university? That's a long question.
Oh, it's a long question. Thank you. Incorporating this into the modules that we're developing.
Wonderful.
Actually, we will have a new course. It will start 2026, and we already have 2 modules we incorporated while we're developing. Incorporated in the games, incorporated in the seminar activities, and one module is an ideation module, which is a very suitable module for SCAMPER. But at the same time, we have another module, entrepreneurial thinking, and then we will introduce the different types of brainstorming. And then with the ideation, we contextualize SCAMPER in a specific scenario. This is what is just a short-term plan. But in the long term, I think just SCAMPER is one of the techniques. So we need to discover many other techniques together, not alone, together from the different disciplines. Because it's the richness that I find during my teaching career. And this is my plan. This is my ambition now, to develop new things with the students. And I think, what do you think? So, do you have any plan?
Yes, take over, please. I'll sit back. I'll fold my legs and sit back.
I'm put in a corner. My plan, I actually don't have a plan, but what inspires me is that in my short journey at BCU, I've been meeting actually a lot of fantastic people from different departments, and our conversation actually prompts me further to maybe look at other people's profiles and try to find common points. Because another thing that maybe Begum mentioned slightly, but we haven't gone into because of the because the context is more about SCAMPER today. But we also started a research collaboration, which actually led us to this point with the workshop, because we were looking for outside collaborators for the study that we actually conducted recently. And we found this collective who invited us to give this workshop, which really worked and was really a good Sunday for both of us. But I also have another collaborator from, I don't know the department's name fully, but computer science, so from CB.
So ABCE.
Okay.
ABCE now. But I also had really nice exchanges with her. So with Begum, for example, we realized that one of the very common developmental psychology theories could be used for understanding business and business formation, as well as migration. They also have a similar theory, don't you?
And I didn't know that. And so we discovered together. So we have this similar approach, but they just explained from a different theories.
Yeah.
There is so much that staff could do if they were to be given the opportunity
Of course.
to be able to co-create, just to hear what other people are doing. Yeah, there are theories that are emerged. Psychology and business have both been mentioned several times over by music comms and English and people involved in architecture. The way, so we were talking about the way in which the eyes move when we go onto our websites, and then we could look at the way in which psychologists could measure the health psychology aspect of addiction, and on a betting form, that like, where does it go, where do the eyes go, and how do they do that, how do businesses take advantage of that?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's tons of links across every field that we have at the university. So we start off by looking at department-led interdisciplinary aspects, and I want to go rogue and say we need to go and get colleges. So you are doing exactly that, Nazli, by linking with ABCE and bringing in the School of Health and Life Sciences at the same time with business psychology, which is a wonderful thing. So 100% needs to be celebrated. The fact that you're already doing it now is wonderful. So yeah, we need to promote more of this sort of teaching and learning. Is there any last tips you could maybe offer members of staff? I know kind of the last 5 minutes has been one big tip, but is there anything that you would like to share with potential listeners out there that they could be doing next to support this?
And with the help of these new methods, trying new methods and the tools, and I think we can enhance the emotional engagement of our students. I think it's very, very important. We need to think about it because they need to find a cause to come here, to come to uni, to engage with the materials, engage with their peers. I think these methods will help us to give that joyful atmosphere for our students, therefore increasing that emotional engagement. And this is maybe the last thing that I can say. And so I'll keep just searching around new techniques to increase that engagement, that level. It also, I think, improve your skills as a teacher to discover yourself. So I'm discovering myself with my students.
And it's not really a new thing. Maybe we touched on this before when we were talking about, but what really is the most important aspect of SCAMPER and having seen this is the creativity and criticality aspect, because when we go out to the daily life doesn't work as if it's in the theories. So that's why we always have to think outside the box, and whoever thinks outside the box and whoever can adapt to whatever that circumstance is asking for in a creative way survives. This is actually the basis of survival. Humankind survived because we were creative. So that's why we have to spend some time and give some effort to developing our creativity muscle. This is just a tool, but the take-home message is that creativity actually takes you one step further. And creativity starts with criticality, because without seeing problems or having the urge to think differently, you can't actually start creating. So I think those are the two very important things for me, and two very important things that I think people can embed not only in their teaching, but in their lives a bit more.
two very STEAM-based, powerful teachers. Thank you both so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.